accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today we'll be reading from verse 40 through 49. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, chapter 14, verse 40 onwards. Verse number 40. Understanding that Urvasi was pregnant, Purva returned to his palace. At the end of the year, there at Kurukshetra, he again obtained the association of Urvasi, who was then the mother of heroic son. 41. Having regained Urvasi at the end of the year, King Pururva was most jubilant, and he enjoyed her company in sex for one night. But then he was very sorry at the thought of separation from her. So Urvashi spoke to him as follows. 42. Urvashi said, My dear king, seek shelter of Gandharvas, for they will be able to deliver me to you again. In accordance with those words, the king satisfied the Gandharvas by prayers, and the Gandharvas being pleased with him, gave him an Agnisthali girl who looked exactly like Urvasi. Thinking that the girl was Urvasi, the king began walking with her in the forest, but later he could understand that she was not Urvasi but Agnisthali. 43. King Prurva then left Agnisthali in the forest and returned home, where he meditated all night upon Urvashi. In the course of his meditation, the Treta millennium began, and therefore the principles of the three Vedas, including the process of performing yagna to fulfill fruitive activities, appeared within his heart. 44 and 45. When the process of fruitive yagna became manifest within his heart, King Pururva went to the same spot where he had left Agnisthali. There he saw that from the womb of the Sami tree, an Aswatha tree had grown. He then took a piece of wood from that tree and made it into the Aranis. Desiring to go to the planet where Urvashi resided, he chanted mantras, meditating upon the lower Arani as Urvasi, the upper one as himself, and the piece of wood between them as his son. In this way, he began to ignite a fire. 46. From Purva, rubbing of the Aranis came a fire. By such a fire, one can achieve all success in material enjoyment and be purified in seminal birth, initiation, and in performance of sacrifice, which are invoked with the combined letters A-U-M, Om. Thus, the fire was considered the son of King Pururva. 47. By means of that fire, Pururva, who desired to go to the planet where Urvasi resided, performed a sacrifice by which he satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the enjoyer of the result of sacrifice. Thus he worshipped the Lord, who is beyond the perception of the senses and is the reservoir of all the demigods. 48. In the Satyuga, the first millennium, all the Vedic mantras were included in one mantra, Pranava, the root of all Vedic mantras. In other words, the Atharva Veda alone was the source of all Vedic knowledge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, was the only worshipable deity. There was no recommendation for worship of the demigods. Fire was the only order of life in human society, was known as Hamsa. 49. O Maharaj Parikshit, at the beginning of Treta Yuga, King Pururva inaugurated a Karma Kanda sacrifice. Thus Pururva, who considered the yagnic fire his son, was able to go to Gandharva Loka as he desired. So this ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 9th canto, 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Pururva Enchanted by Urvasi. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Manindra Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Sundaracala Das Prabhuji, please accept our humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Prabhuji, please take over the call, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Ramatali. Thank you, Manindra Das Prabhu, for reading today's verses. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we will discuss about the 14th chapter of 9th canto, November 3rd, 2025. And we will basically cover where we left off on Friday, in verse number 39. We'll continue from verse number 40. And before we proceed, let's offer obeisances to our Guru. श्रीचैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतभूत स्वयं रूपः तदामहिं ददाति सुदान्तिकं देवं श्रीगुरुवे श्रीवितातपतमनं प्रीतिमं ीरूपं साप्रजातां सहजनं भरतमोहनितं कांसजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं स्वपरिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्ताश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश कुकुलदां राधाकान्तं श्रीदेवतपदाचन्द्रवरां विराधे वृन्दावनं वृषाभानुसुते नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर नित्यानंद मंत्र तत्व पश्चिम प्रभाति मुझे जगत प्रणाम भगवान लक्ष्मी हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे राम. King Pururava is from the dynasty of Buddha, and in Pururava's ancestry, if you see, Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, the secondary creator, gave birth to Atri. Atri is one of the 7 sages, and is born from the mind of Brahma. So Atri gave birth to Soma along with the other 2 sons. And the moon god is called moon god, and is born from Atri and Anasuya, as we mentioned. From Chandra, Soma, who is Soma, came Buddha, who's and Ila is the son of Buddha. Ila is a unique being who altered between male and a female form, and he was and he in fact was a child of Vaivashvatamana, but he gave birth in the form of a female to further kings. That includes Buddha, and in combination with Buddha, Ila gave birth to Pururava. Now we are discussing Pururava's pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam 14th chapter. So we're going to conclude the pastime of Pururava, and we discussed in the 14th chapter beginning that Soma begets Buddha through Tara, and marriage of Pururava and Urvasi. We have discussed how Pururava, after hearing about the glories of Pururava, have from Narada Muni, has expressed interest in approaching him, and she later married him. And later, while marrying, she put 3 conditions, and because of the providential arrangement, because she had, one of the conditions were broken, she had to return to heaven after the oath was broken. And Gandharvas, after stealing Urvasi's lands, that's when the oath was broken, and she's supposed to return to the heaven. And what happens is, because of Pururava's lamentation, Urvasi's advice, she promises to actually spend time with him once a year. And today we're going to continue with the discussion where we left off, where how Urvashi spoke to him about the nature of woman, finally agreed to be with him once a year. And verse number 40 to 49 we'll discuss now. So Pururava goes to Gandharva Loka. That is what is mentioned in these 9 verses, last 9 verses of this chapter. In verse number 40, it is mentioned that Urvashi is pregnant. Pururava returned to his palace, and at the end of the year, at Kurukshetra, the place called Kurukshetra, he found her, and she was found to be already a mother of a heroic son. Understanding that Urvashi was pregnant, Pururava returned to his place. And he also understood that she would also bear other children with me later. That is what is mentioned by Vishwanath Chakravarti. Urvashi Veera Mataram. That is how Urvashi was described in this verse. 41 and 42, Pururava spent time with Urvashi for one night, but he was sorry at the thought of separation from her. And he worshipped Gandharvas. They were able to deliver. She advised, if you worship Gandharvas, they will be able to deliver me to you again. That's what she advised by seeing him lamenting and seeing him that he's undergoing separation from her. So Pururava now after Urvashi advised him, Pururava prayed to Gandharvas, who then gave him Agnisthali girl, who looked exactly like Urvashi. And Pururava, who was very desperate, wanted to union with her, but soon realized that this woman is not my wife, Urvashi. That's what he realized. And as it is mentioned, Agnishthalim Dadur Rupa Urvashim Manyamanastam. So Abudhyata Charan Vane. So Vishwanath Chakravarti remarked that Pururava was very lusty immediately after getting the Agnisthali girl. He wanted to union with her, but during the union, he could understand that this girl was not Agnisthali. This indicates that every man, Prabhupada says that every man attached to a particular woman knows the particular characteristics of woman. Thus, Pururava understood that the Agnisthali girl was not Urvashi. So in the next verse, 43rd verse, Pururava, it is mentioned, King Pururava then left Agnisthali in the forest and returned home, where he meditated all night upon Urvashi. In the course of his meditation, Treta millennium began, and therefore the principles of the 3 Vedas, including the process of performing yajna to fulfill fruitive activities, appeared within her. So it is said, Tretayam yadato mahai, Prabhupada says. In Treta Yuga, if one performs yajnas, he would get all the results of those yajnas. By performing Vishnu yajna specifically, one could even achieve the lotus feet of 3% of Godhead, which is Ajita Jitopi Tais Trilokya, which cannot be easily acquired even by anyone in the 3 planetary systems. But still, that Lord is conquerable if one performs Vishnu Yajna, specifically Bhakti Yoga Yajna, which is Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting and doing Bhakti Yoga. So Yajna is intended to please the Supreme Lord. There, while Pururava was meditating upon Urvashi, his goal was not to please the Supreme Lord, but rather to achieve his goal of association with Urvashi. That was his goal. Treta Yuga began, and therefore the Vedic yajnas were revealed in his heart. Prabhupada said that when he started this in Kruta Yuga, meditating on Urvashi, that was the juncture actually, it's a sandhi, from which it transitioned over the night to a next yuga. Treta Yuga has started, and the dharma for Treta Yuga also were immediately changed, because Treta Yuga's dharma is different. Now the in Treta Yuga, Karmakandiya sacrifices, yajnas, these they manifest naturally, because in the Satya Yuga, most of the people were in predominantly in the Sattva Guna, but whereas in the next yugas, the other qualities manifest, slowly manifest. And Karmakandiya yajnas, Prabhupada is mentioning, are meant for sensuous persons, whereas yajna should actually be performed to please the Supreme Lord. In Kali Yuga, Sankirtana yajna is written. Yajnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Sumedasana. Only those who are very intelligent, Sumedasaha, are they take up with the Sankirtana yajna to fulfill all their desires, material and spiritual. Whereas those who are lusty for sense enjoyment perform karma kandi yajnas. The purpose for which the Srila Prabhupada has inaugurated this Sankirtana movement is that we get purified by performing Sankirtana, like we are doing right now, by doing the congregational chanting. We go to Baltimore and cities like that. We perform devotees together. We perform, you know, Harinama Sankirtana. And what is the other? That is our. That is what Prabhupada has taught us to do. Right? By doing that, and also by reaching out to people, we knock the doors of our neighborhoods, and we meet people and ask them to chant Hare Krishna mantra, which is the dharma of this age. And we request them to come to temple, take association of the devotees and the Lord. We follow up later. So all that is part of Sankirtana Yajna. The devotees who are preparing wonderfully all the deity worship, they are doing wonderfully, arranging the temple and all the background services, including the pot washing and floor cleaning, all that attracts these new people. And all these together is Sankirtana Yajna, and it fulfills desires of every participant of the devotee who is serving. That includes desires. It is said by Prabhupada that when someone performs Sankirtana Yajna, it will automatically fulfill desires which is material and spiritual. Whereas those who are lusty for sense enjoyment, they perform karma kandi yajnas instead of Harinam Sankirtana Yajna. So Pururava goes to the Gandharva Loka is what we are currently. That is the context. And how did he perform the yajna, Pururava? To fulfill his Karmakandi yajna, to fulfill his material desire. That is being described in 44th to 47th verse. Pururava went to a spot where he had left Agnisthali. Sthali Sthanam Gato Ashwatham, where there is a banyan tree, right? At that time, at that place, Shami Gartham. That means there is a Shami tree from which there is another tree which branched out. And it happens very unusually, but it does happen even in current age. So, in that specific spot, what happened? Vilakshasaha, Kenadve Arani Krutva. He actually created two arani sticks, which are nothing but in order to lit fire, to perform yajna, we perform actually Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, they actually use a special wood called arani to actually ignite the fire, not by using matchsticks or any other means, but they ignite fire by using the arani sticks, rubbing against the third wood, which is also a different type of special wood. And Urvashi Loka Kamyaya. And why he was doing all this? In order to achieve Urvashi. Urvashi mantra to Jhayan. He started meditating upon Urvashi, right? adharani uttaram, and he is imagining him, the first arani stick on the top to be himself. And atmanam ubhayor madhye. Who is atmanam? Atmanam is here mentioned as he's imagining him. He is imagining a sun, and he has placed another small wood stick that represents his son. Atmano Bhayor Madhya, and he placed between these two Arani sticks. Yattat, and he is imagining the stick which is the second stick of Arani, is imagining to be Urvashi. Now he Atmanam Ubhayor Madhya, with his son between these two parents. Yattat Prajanam Prabhu. Prajananam Prabhu. And like that, he started meditating. He's able to start. That was his mood when he started the yajna. The Vedic fire for performing yajna was not ignited with ordinary matches. And two sacred pieces of wood called arani were used, Prabhupada says. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, Shami Garbhat Agni Mantha. Like that, Vedic mantra, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes, he actually predicts what mantra the Pururava has spelled at that time. And two possibilities he says. One of the mantra is Shami Garbhat Agni Mantha. So this is one mantra, and a similar mantra is Urvashi Urasi Pururavaha. So he imagined himself with Urvashi, similar to that is one mantra, and another mantra is two RNA sticks by rubbing against each other. These RNA sticks is producing the fire, and fire representing his sun. And Pururava wanted to have children continuously in the womb of Urvashi. His only ambition was to union with Urvashi and thereby get a son. That is his only goal. In other words, he had so much lust in his heart that even while performing yajna, he thought of Urvashi instead of thinking of master of yajna, which is Yagneshwara Lord Krishna. So, Pururava's yajna, where what happened was, it is Agnisthali means also a sacrificial pot. It is also means a sacrificial pot. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the other possibility. It's not Agnisthali girl who resembles Urvashi. What he thought was, since he was totally infatuated, he thought that sacrificial pot as a woman, that too Urvashi. That is what he was thinking. It is my wife. He was so blinded by his infatuation. That is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. And in the 46th verse, it is mentioned, Tasya Nirmanthana Jato Jata Veda Vidhavasuru Trayasa Vijaya Rajna Putratve Kalpitas Vigru. When Pururava's rubbing of the Aranis came a fire, by such a fire, one can achieve all success in material enjoyment. Jata Veda Vidhavasuhu. All the opulences and material enjoyment can be achieved with such a fire, because it is a special type of tree from which he derived that Arani wood. And be purified in seminal birth. It's not that he does achieve his goal of association of Urvashi. In the process, because he is doing a yajna to satisfy the Supreme Lord in order to get the material desire fulfilled, because of that, he is going to also get purified in seminal birth, initiation, in the performance of sacrifice, which are invoked with the combination letters Om. Thus, the fire was considered the son of King Purava. Because the fire is considered to be son of King Purava because fire emanated from the yajna. And because he is the He is the owner of the yajna, because he is actually the hegemony of the yajna, who is performing that yajna. He is going to automatically get the benefit of doing it. And what is the benefit he's getting? He is considered to be father of the fire, the sacrificial fire. According to the Vedic process, one can get a son through three types. One is semen, sukra, and one gets also a bona fide disciple through initiation, Savitra. So if you see all the Maharajas in ISKCON or in any Vaishnava parampara, they have disciples. All those disciples are actually, they are sons of that Guru, sons and daughters of the Guru, all the disciples. So one can get a son or a disciple through the fire of sacrifice also. Yajna. Thus, when Maharaja Pururava generated the fire by rubbing the Aranis, the fire became his son. Either by semen, by initiation, or by yajna, one may get his son. Let us all can call each of these three methods into existence, but one has to spell these this mantra Om in order to call any of these three methods. Prabhupada says. And 47th verse, by means of that fire, Pururava, who desired to go to the planet where Urvashi resided, performed a sacrifice by which he satisfied the Supreme Lord, Master of sacrifices, who is beyond material senses and constitutes all devatas. If you see, it is highlighted here. Urvashi lokam anvikshan sarva devamayam harim. Lord is a person, is actually a repository of all other devatas. They are already exist in his body, and he is the source of all those devatas. And that's why instead of worshipping each individual devata to achieve his akama sarvakamo moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena ijati purusha paraha. Whether he has all material desires or no material desires, or he desires detachment, one must approach Supreme Lord. That's injunction given in Srimad Bhagavatam. So following that, when he has a material desire, instead of going and begging individual devatas, he approached that Supreme Lord, Deva, Supreme Lord Krishna, and tried to please Hari. So it is mentioned here in this verse, purport, that Bhaktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, because in any loka or any planet to which one wants to go, which is happen to be the property of Supreme Lord, whom we should ask, is obviously Supreme Lord, because he is the owner of all the planets. Wherever we want to go, we need to ask him. That is the understanding Pururava has. The purpose of yajna is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. In this age, however, yajna of chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only sacrifice that can satisfy Supreme Lord. When the Lord is satisfied, one can fulfill any desire, material or spiritual. And if one can utilize the land properly, one can get all the necessities of life from the land, including the food grains, fruits, flowers, vegetables. We're going to get if God sanctions, if Krishna desires, we might get a nice farm in the Frederick area where devotees can start self-sustenance, working towards the self-sustenance. We get flowers, vegetables, grains, everything from there. If not grains, everything else from there. And that is what Prabhupada is mentioning. If one utilizes the land properly, which is God-given, one can get all the necessities of life. We don't have to rely on supermarkets. When there is crisis, all the supermarkets are, there is nothing available there. At that time, the only way of surviving is self-sustenance. Everything one gets for material wealth is produced from the earth, and therefore it is said, Sarva Kama Dubha Mahim. All the desires are fulfilled by Mother Earth. When the Hari is satisfied, who is her master. Sarva Kama Dubha Mahim. And although Pururava desired something material, he factually performed yajna to please the Supreme Lord. Yajnas can be with not the goal of attaining Supreme Lord, but with the goal of attaining Guruship. That's a different thing. Unlike Dhruva Maharaj, he started with the goal of attaining a greater position than his father and Uttarapada, and he's greater than his grandfather, which is Swayambhu Manu, even greater than his great grandfather Lord Brahma. That is what he had, a big material goal. But when he performed the bhakti, meditated upon the Supreme Lord, at the end he got purified. And by the time Lord appeared, he was embarrassed with his initial aspirations of trying to become greater than his Pitamaha, right? Greater material position than his great grandfather. He was ashamed and felt like all these positions are mere pieces of glasses. When there is a jewel like Lord Hari in front of me, why did I decide for all these things? Like that he realized. But Pururava, let's see whether he realizes or not. It's contrary. And yajnas can be performed in human society only when society is divided by varnashrama dharma into 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. Without the performance of yajnas, no material plans can make human society happy at any time. That is what is currently happening. Without performing yajnas, without having 4 varnas and acting according to the 4 varnas, nobody can be happy in this society. That since these varnas cannot be established in Kali Yuga, the only way to establish happiness in this current time is to perform Sankirtana Yajna, which doesn't have any prerequisites. That's what Prabhupada is highlighting. In this age of Kali, Yajna recommended in Sankirtana, the individual or collective chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. This will bring the fulfillment of all necessities of human society. Every single human, every single living entity in this area where Sankirtana Yajna is performed, where devotees come together out of their own discomfort, it's cold weather, go out and meet people, perform the Sankirtana Mahayagya. What happens? This fulfills the necessities of all the living entities, not just material but spiritual. And 48th verse, Satya Yuga situation is described here. In Satya Yuga, Lord Narayana was worshipped by meditation. Vishnu achieved every success. In next Yuga, Treta Yuga, the performance of Yajna began. Tretayam yadato matai. This is a very important verse. Actually, we mentioned that in the purport. Satya Yuga, there were only one Veda, not 4. Later, it became as 4 branches. Right? The Satya Yuga, the only mantra was Omkara, the Maha Mantra. It is mentioned as Maha Mantra also. And now it is in the Kali Yuga, the same mantra is manifested as Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Unless one is a Brahmana, one cannot utter Omkara. But however, to get the desired result, Kali Yuga, almost everyone in Shudra, unfit, can utter this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and get the same result. Omkara is a mantra or a Maha Mantra, and Hare Krishna is also a Maha Mantra, Prabhupada says. The purpose of pronouncing Omkara is addressing the Supreme Lord. Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om is not separately spelled, but it is to achieve Vasudeva is why Omkara is spelled. So the only worshipable Lord is Hari, who is the goal of Vedas. Vedaischa sarvai rahameva vijyaha. So the only purpose of reciting the Hare Krishna mantra is to achieve that Krishna. In Satyuga, people knew how to fulfill the necessities of life simply by worshipping Narayana. They don't build factories, big supply chain, and try to achieve small necessities. They don't have unnecessary needs in the life. Simply they used to live, and they used to worship Narayana for those simple needs, and Narayana used to provide them. The same purpose can be served in age of Kali by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and as recommended in Bhagavatam. Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Bhaje. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, one is freed from the bondage of material system. One becomes eligible to return back to Godhead. 49th verse it is mentioned in Satya Yuga, Lord Narayana was worshipped by meditation. Right? Oh, Mahabharata Parikshit, at the beginning of Treta Yuga, the king Pururava inaugurated a Karma Kanda sacrifice. Thus, Pururava, who considered the yagnic fire, his son, was able to go to Gandharva Loka as he desired. So he was able to achieve the association of Urvashi also in Gandharva Loka with this by pleasing the Supreme Lord Hari. And every cycle, Yuga cycle, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga, in the big, what happens is in each yuga, a particular popular king inaugurates the dharma of that particular. For example, Pururava king inaugurated the karmakandic sacrifices in the beginning of Treta Yuga. That is how great kings used to inaugurate these processes, which are natural to that particular yuga. With that, we will conclude here, devotees. As in sharp contrast with what Dhruva Maharaj has achieved, which is detachment from purification, and he got rid of the initial materially charged aspirations with which he began worshipping Lord Hari. The process of bhakti purified him of material desires, and he also achieved the goal of becoming a greatest, greater than his great grandfather. But still, he was not willing to have it. But Lord forcefully gave it, right? And if you see, even here in this case, Pururava wanted this. He was very desperate. Even after worshipping Lord Hari, he was unable to, because he was doing karmakandic sacrifice, not doing pure devotional service. He was unable to get rid of this material desire of getting association of Urvasi. Even after achieving Lord Hari's satisfaction, even after pleasing Lord Hari also, he was unable to purify his materially inclined aspirations. With this, we will conclude today's Srimad Bhagavatam discourse. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Sundaracala Srimad Bhagavatam Jai Srila Prabhupada Jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.